When the One Punch anime hit Japan in 2015 and subsequently the West in 2016, it immediately exploded in popularity thanks to its humorous take on the shonen genre. The protagonist, Saitama, is able to defeat any enemy with a single punch, no matter how many ridiculous DBZ-style final forms they have. Fights are so easy for him that he's absolutely bored of being a hero, and this is the source of One Punch Man's comedy. Before One Punch Man was an anime, it was a manga illustrated by Yusuke Murata that began serialization in 2012. The manga is, in turn, based on the popular webcomic of the same name, written and illustrated by series creator One. So, with anime cross manga, I thought it'd be fun to compare the webcomic, manga, and anime to find both the similarities and differences between the three. The One Punch Man anime sticks fairly close to the source material, delivering a faithful adaptation, but there are a few differences here and there that are fun to seek out. It's important to mention I'll be covering different portions of the anime. In terms of story, I won't be going anywhere past the anime, but there will be some spoilers for those of you who haven't seen it. So with that said, I'm Dave Klein, and let's chat us some One Punch! But before we get to that, make sure to subscribe to GameSpot Universe for more videos about anime, breakdowns of your favorite TV shows, and to learn more about the weird and wonderful world of comic books. First up, a history lesson. One Punch Man began his life in 2009 when One decided to create a webcomic, as he says, just to entertain himself. As a child, he was a fan of popular gag comic crayon Shin-chan and decided at that age he wanted to be a gag manga artist. He kept his manga to himself all the way through college until he finally started uploading funny pictures and comics to his site using his mobile phone. Finally, in 2009, he uploaded Chapter 1 of One Punch Man to a manga hosting website called Nietzsche, purely for the goal of learning how to use the manga creating software Comic Studio. He only intended it to be one singular chapter, where Saitama faces Vaccine Man and is upset that he can beat him in one punch, but due to a bigger response than he expected, he drew a second chapter which got even more praise. And from there, he came up with a plot and story that would carry on the series further. Due to its extreme popularity, it caught the eye of illustrator Yusuke Murata, who wanted to draw the manga. Even though he was under contract with Shonen Jump, as he was incredibly sick, he decided that he wanted to draw something he was passionate about. So he contacted both one and multiple publishers until he could lock in a deal to create the One Punch Man manga. As mentioned before, the One Punch Man anime is an extremely faithful adaptation of the manga, which itself is a faithful adaptation of the webcomic. It's fun to see certain panels directly recreated in each medium. And that's a huge part of the charm of both the manga and anime, the way it's adapted one's original unpolished art style into its visual language. There's plenty of examples like this throughout the anime, and a couple more that stand out to me are the moment when Saitama decides to join the Hero Association so people actually know who he is, which we can see panel for panel translated from webcomic to anime. And even earlier than that, the hilarious expression Saitama has on his face when Genos is taking forever to explain his backstory.
これは俺一人の戦いじゃない。俺の故郷やクセイの博士の思いも背負っているんです。自分が未熟なのは分かっている。バカ野郎！20時以内で完結にまとめやがれ！ When Saitama explains how he got his powers, both the serious look on his face as he breaks down his less than extreme regimen, as well as his goofy expression when explaining that he went bald, we can also see the evolution from webcomic to anime. While the manga itself is a faithful adaptation of the webcomic, with this being Murata's passion project, there are several points where the manga slightly differs from the original webcomic. One such instance being Atomic Samurai's sword hilt. In the webcomic, this was initially drawn as a swastika, as the swastika is still used to denote Buddhist temples in Japan, but this was changed in the manga for a potential Western audience as it has come to represent Nazis in the West. But the most overt changes are the way the manga completely fleshes out the original webcomic. There are a number of bonus chapters which add to the overall mythos of One Punch Man, such as more about Saitama's backstory, minor misadventures involving Saitama, or fleshing out the characters in the world of One Punch Man. These chapters were co-written by One and Yusuke Murata, so they still contain all of the charm of the series. Likely because these extra chapters don't fit into a specific timeline, they aren't included in the anime and are therefore exclusive to the manga. That said, there was one completely original chapter in the manga about Konbu Infinity, a monster with seaweed tentacle hair that actually does make an appearance in the anime.
先生、ドアの外に昆布がたくさん置いてありましたが。
ああ、あれはたまたま安く手に入ってだな。
And while the webcomic is almost always 15 pages per chapter, the manga often ranges from 16 to 30 pages per chapter, and on one occasion, a special edition had over 100 pages for the chapter, this being the episode involving a meteorite smashing into Earth and obliterating it. As such, they're often added in moments and details. Some of these are more minor, but help with world building, such as Genos helping out around the apartment by cleaning and putting away dishes. However, the majority of additions usually come in the form of fights, where Saitama or various enemies' powers are better showcased. When Saitama first faces off against Speed of Sound Sonic, the manga takes one's original webcomic version of Speed of Sound Sonic dashing around and upgrades it into a really cool scene of him bouncing off of trees with the camera zooming and rotating. In fact, it's so incredibly well detailed, even the anime couldn't match it. When fighting against Genos, once again, we see a much more detailed battle in the manga version over the webcomic, with Genos using more abilities than before. Not only this, but we also get to see the result of Saitama's destructive punch, which freaks Genos out. In the webcomic, the force of Saitama's punch messes up his hair, but in the manga, we can also see the resulting destruction behind Genos. Likewise, the anime takes this one step further, showcasing Saitama's destructive power to an even greater degree by having the wind from his punch wipe away the cliffside behind him. What's probably the most blatant example of the manga taking fights one step further is in Saitama's battle against Boros. Outside of the battle lasting a little longer overall, the manga also adds in a moment where Boros punches Saitama into the moon, with Saitama jumping back to Earth. Additionally, in the moment when Saitama uses his serious strike, the manga once again takes the opportunity to flaunt Saitama's extreme power by zooming out of the planet and depicting him completely altering the weather pattern. And while the manga was adapted from the webcomic, the anime is more so an adaptation of the manga. The anime is incredibly faithful to the manga, utilizing Yusuke Murata's art style, but then animating it. In the battles, we can see several sections where the manga lines up almost frame by frame. For example, when Saitama battles against Genos, while the start of the battle is slightly different, with the anime having Genos immediately rush into Saitama, eventually the battle becomes near identical, with Genos attempting to smash Saitama against the side of a cliff and firing a heat blast, missing in both instances. Typically, the anime adds more complexity to the battles, also extending out their length. The Gerunganshu battle is a great example of this. In both the manga and webcomic, this is a fairly short and straightforward fight. Gerunganshu uses his telekinesis to shoot rocks at Saitama and is swiftly destroyed. However, in the anime, Gerunganshu also attempts to use a super telekinetic gravitational wave. Many of the fights throughout the show have added elements such as these, which don't really affect the fights at all, as Saitama is so powerful. One of my favorite added moments is when Saitama is first facing off against Lord Boros, and while Lord Boros is sprinting around, Saitama is basically just fast walking. We do get a few added segments in the anime that don't happen in any of the written material. One such example is after Saitama is welcomed to the Hero Association with Sneck trying to take him down, Genos is actually warmly welcomed by Sweet Mask.
やっぱ S 級と C 級じゃ対応が全然違うんだな。つーかよく考えたらそれ詐欺じゃねえか？お前サイボーグだろ。
We get a brand new introduction to Tatsumaki, or in English, Tornado's, powers as well, with her fighting the Terror Lizard Clan, who have finally come out to conquer the world after the Subterranean and Deep Sea King's defeat. In one more scene I noticed added in, when Saitama is yelling at the various onlookers who blame him for the meteorite destroying their home, it's actually Genos who calms him down, while in the original manga, the scene simply ends with Saitama yelling.
先生。
お、なんだジェノスか。ちょっと待ってろ。あいつが俺のこと。
帰りましょう。先生。
Finally, another element added into the anime is the liberties taken with this coloration. Of course, given the prior mediums were black and white, that sounds pretty obvious, but what I mean is examples such as when Carnage Kabuto goes into Carnage mode and suddenly everything turns into neon lights. For comparison, here's how Carnage Kabuto's Carnage mode looks in the manga. While there's no way the anime could reach the level of detail the manga has, as that would be way too expensive and take far too long, by utilizing colors in this way, the anime has its own distinct style. We see the same great mastery of color usage in the fight against the Deep Sea King, with the colors getting darker and more menacing along with the weather as the situation gets more dire. That is, of course, until Saitama defeats the Sea King, causing the rain to completely stop and the mood to immediately lighten up. Which, as a quick note, his punch clearing up the weather is another added touch to the anime. And there you have some of the differences, and many similarities, of One Punch Man between the anime, manga, and webcomic. With One Punch Man, you can see the way each medium helped influence the final product in a collaborative and iterative way. The original webcomic introduced the story in one style of humor, the manga has amazing and detailed artwork which expands on the fights and details of One Punch Man's world, while the anime expands all of this with its color palette and oftentimes breathtaking animation. Each medium has its own unique charm, and in the case of One Punch Man, it's one of the anime that's actually incredibly faithful and similar to its source material. Even eliminating the manga, you can still see the exact beats and moments of the webcomic happening in the anime. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Anime Cross Manga. One Punch Man happened to be a case where there were more similarities than differences, but I'd like to know what else you'd like to see covered and if you'd like to see more episodes of this show. Personally, I'd love to talk about something with more differences, such as Berserk, Nausicaa, Trigun, or Akira, but I'd love to know what you think. And if you ever want to chat anime, hit me up on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.